Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this video. I wanted to make this video, first and foremost, I think you guys kind of enjoy the YouTube videos, and I think the YouTube videos kind of help us refresh what we're learning in class. So I wanted to make this video on subtracting mixed numbers, okay? So far we've been working with adding and subtracting fractions. Just to remind us, first thing we were doing that in order for fractions to work together, they need to have a common denominator. So we worked on finding common denominators. Then we worked on adding and subtracting fractions. And then we worked on simplifying fractions. So I feel like a lot of us are struggling with simplifying. So I'm gonna make a separate video on how to simplify fractions. Just like I said, just to refresh our memory. And then we worked on adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So today I want to focus specifically on subtracting, right? Because in subtracting, sometimes we need to borrow from the next place value. So I wanted to show you, right, how to borrow, or what they call how to rename when subtracting with mixed numbers. So let's just do a quick little refresher on subtracting mixed numbers. So let's just say I have 3 3/4 minus 1 and I don't know, 1/5, right? We know that in order for these mixed numbers to work together, or these fractions to work together, we need to have a common denominator. So we need to find the common denominator of 4 and 5. So let's find that out. So let's find the common denominator of 4. We have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Let's get 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Now, what do they have in common? Specifically the least. In this case, there's only one here, which is 20. So we rewrite our whole number with our new denominator. And then we would rewrite our whole number with our new denominator on the bottom, right? And then you ask yourself, how did this 4 end up becoming 20? 4 times what gave you 20? In this case, it would be 4 times 5. So what I do on the bottom, I must do to the top. So 4 times 5 is 20. 3 times 5 is 15. Now let's work on the bottom. How did this 5 right here become 20? 5 times 4. What I do on the bottom, I do to the top. 1 times 4 is 4. And then, in this case now, I can just subtract. 15 minus 4 is 11 over 20. 3 times 1 is 2. Now, before I say this is my final answer, let me just double check and check to simplify. How do I simplify? I list the factors of what gives me my numerator, and I list the factors of what gives me my denominator. So what gives me 11? Only 1 times 11. Now let's see what gives me 20. Obviously 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. What numbers do they have in common? Specifically the greatest common factor, and that the greatest would be 1. So if it's only 1, that means it's already simplified. So that is our final answer. So now let me erase the board. All right, and then let's do another example. All right, so what happens if we have this? Move this side here. So what happens when I have 4 1/2 minus 1 5/6? So let's just follow the steps that we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, right? We need to find the common denominator, right? The common denominator of 2 and 6. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. So our common denominator is 6. So let's rewrite our mixed number with our new denominator. So I keep the whole number and write my new denominator. Keep my whole number, write my new denominator. Now, how did 2 become 6? 2 times 3. So that means 1 times 3 is 3. How did 6 become 6? Times 1. So 5 times 1 is 5. So now we just subtract. But now, do we see a little bit of an issue that we have here? 4 3/6 minus 1 5/6. So hopefully you're paying attention. You see that 3, right? And minus 5/6. So you can't take away 5 from 3. It's impossible. If I have 3, you can't take away 5. So what happens? What happens? So let's just go back to regular subtraction. What happens if I have 41. Let's do actually 43 minus, I don't know, 5. What happens if I have 43 minus 5? What do we normally do? Right? Hopefully, like I said, you're paying attention and you remember you have to borrow, or you have to what we call renaming, right? But we like to call it borrowing, right? We need to borrow from the next place value. So if I can't subtract 3 minus 5, right, I would need to borrow from the 4. So this 4 would be a 3 because I'm giving 1, right? 1, 2, 3. So now it became 13, right? 13 minus 5 would be 8, and then 3, and that's how I would get my answer. Now, before I continue, right? Hopefully you're getting the idea that we're gonna have to borrow, okay? So what you're doing with renaming, right? Or when you have to borrow is you're borrowing from the whole number next to it. So if I can't say 3, 6 minus 5, 6, I need to borrow from this 4 right here. Now, let me just get some visualization here, right? So something that I want you to understand, right, is that 1 whole. So if you're gonna borrow 1, you know that is equal to, in this case, 6 over 6, right? Because think of it, you have 1 whole. That's like saying you have 1 whole pizza, right? That's like saying you have 1 whole pizza. Even though there's 6 out of 6 slices, right? It's 6, 6. It is 1 whole. So what you're gonna do is you're going to borrow from the whole number next to it, right? And then you're gonna convert it to a fraction. So watch this. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit just so we can see, okay? So I know I can't subtract this. So I need to borrow. I need to borrow from this 4. So this 4 is gonna become a 3, right? And instead of adding 1, you need to add a fraction to it. So when you borrow with fractions, once you borrow from this whole number, you need to add the denominator to the numerator. 3 plus 6 is now 9. So now you're left with 3 and 9, 6, minus 1 and 5, 6. Now you ask yourself, now can I subtract? Oops, I did something weird there. Sorry about that. So now I can subtract 3 and 9, 6, minus 1 and 5, 6. So I'm going to write it a little more clear here. So we just made 4 and 3, 6 converted into 3 and 9, 6, minus 1 and 5, 6. All right, so now I can subtract. Let me erase this. 9 minus 5 is 4, 6, and 3 minus 1 is 2. Now, before I finalize my answer, let me check to simplify. Let's find the factors of 4 and 6. So we have 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. Here I have 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. What is my greatest common factor? In this case, it would be 2. So that means I'm going to divide by 2 and divide by 2, which is going to give me 2 and 2 over 3, right? Because it's 2/3. So this is my final answer. All right. Let's do another one just so we can refresh, just so we can get some extra practice. Let me delete this so I can save some space and open up a new whiteboard. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's try 9 and 2/5 minus 3 and 3/4. Now, first things first, find the common denominator of 5 and 4. So we should know it already, right? Like I said before, eventually we're going to be so good at this that we're going to be able to know it by heart, right? So you should already be thinking it should be 20, right? Because we've done 4 and 5 so many times. So 20 is our new denominator. So I'm going to rewrite my whole number with my denominator. I'm going to write my whole number with my denominator. So 5 became 20 times 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 5 was 20. So 3 times 5 is 15. So now you think to yourself, problem is I can't subtract 15 20ths from 8 20ths. So 8 20ths minus 15 20ths can't happen without borrowing or renaming. So I need to borrow from my 9. So this 9 become an 8. And I'm going to add the denominator to the top, right? Because in this case, 1 whole is equal to 20 over 20th. So I'm going to add the denominator to the top, which is going to give me 28 over 20. So now I can subtract 28 minus 15. So I know 8 minus 5 is 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. Keep my denominator. And 8 minus 3 is 5. Now let's check to simplify. What gives me 13? 1 times 13, 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. The only number they have in common is 1, so that means it's already simplified. So 5 and 13 over 20 is my answer. I hope this video helped us out a little bit. Like I said, we're gonna learn this. We learned this in class already. So I really hope this helped you. Like I said, feel free to message me if you guys have any questions. All right, so I will see you guys in the next video. All right, love you guys and have a good one.